so good afternoon, everybody. My name is Jesse, and I'm with Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants. If you're joining us for the first time today, we are all about bringing conservation, adventure, and science into classrooms around the world through free live interactive broadcasts. And I want to say a huge thank you to all our teachers, not just for joining us during this series, but throughout our entire couple months of programming as we've kicked off a really unique and special school year where all of you are back in the classrooms. It's been such a thrill having you in as we continue to showcase such amazing people and places around the globe. Now, for today's program, it is a bittersweet day and time for us because it is the end of our official kickoff to the Ingenious Plus campaign. All week long, we've been featuring innovators coast to coast to coast across Canada doing incredible work to make the country and the world healthier, smarter, and kinder. Everything from building and sailing on birch bark canoes to making amazing robots. We've taken factory tours. We've talked about how everyone can do amazing things no matter where they start from in life. It's been a really uplifting and exciting time, and I hope you guys get the chance to check out the Ingenious Plus site below and our YouTube channel at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants to see all the amazing broadcasts. Now, what I want to do now is bring up a quick video about what Ingenious Plus is all about, and then turn it over to Jill, who has been my partner in crime all week long, to dive in with a little bit more of what you can expect as the Ingenious Plus campaign rolls out in the months to come. Let me pull up that video. I can find a button. I know what I'm doing. Here we go, and we'll dive in. Oh, what a fun video. I think I did miss the opportunity now that this is our 9th broadcast of having like a big fake novelty check with 10,000 on it, but that's okay. We'll save that for programs in the future. Jill, come in and tell us a little bit more about what Ingenious Plus is all about and take us away.
Thanks, Jesse. And what an amazing week it has been with you and Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, Rita Hall Foundation, and JA to help us launch Ingenious Plus, Canada's Youth Innovation Prize. So if you're passionate about generating solutions for your community, for your country, or even globally, Ingenious Plus gives youth in Canada, ages 14 to 18, the opportunity to innovate for good and share strategies for making our world healthier, smarter, and kinder. Who couldn't use that? So what is innovation? We hear this word kicked around a lot, but what does it actually mean? Innovation is about doing something better and making an impact. This includes improving on a product or a service or a process, or it could be creating something completely new that solves a problem or just makes the world a better place. Often we think that innovation is about, technical, scientific, mathematic, and that's true, it is. But innovation is so much more than that. It is social, it is community, it is entrepreneurial, health, and also solidarity. So you don't have to be a genius in engineering to be an innovator. You just have to make the world around you a better place. And there's no need to go it alone. All week, our innovators have stressed the importance of teamwork. So when you submit your idea to Ingenious Plus, make sure you're doing it with friends, with classmates, with people with a diversity of perspective around you. Now, this award invites you to present your innovation ideas, and this is your chance to showcase your innovation in an exceptional network of Canada's most successful innovators. So you'll have the chance to win entry into this network, as well as the chance to win up to $10,000. Not bad. So tell us what you hope to solve in your community and beyond, and you can receive cash awards and mentorships from leading Canadian innovators. So please check us out at ingeniusplus.ca, and Canada's next great innovator could be you. Thanks, Jesse.
Thank you so much for that, Jill. I really appreciate the dive in on the topic. And again, over the months to come at Exploring by the Seat of Your Pants, we'll be featuring many more programs and ways that our youth can get involved. Now, for today's ultimate program in our kickoff series, we are joined by Ali Leung, and she is the head of marketing at Shopify Canada, behind some of the most amazing, friendly, impactful campaigns over the last decade at a wide variety of amazing organizations. So, as befits someone as creative as Ali, she's got a beautiful presentation for us today. I'm not going to steal any more of her thunder, and I'll turn it over to you, Ali, to blow our minds and take us away. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you very much, Jesse. Hi, everyone. I'm Ali Leung, as Jesse mentioned, and I currently head up marketing for Shopify in Canada. And I was very honored when Junior Achievement, JA, asked if I would participate in this talk about innovation for Ingenious Plus. And when I learned from the Rito Hall Foundation that the objective is to innovate to make the world healthier, smarter, and kinder, that made me even more energized to get involved. Today, I want to talk to you about some of the experiences from my career, share where I've had the opportunity to focus on making the world healthier, smarter, and kinder, while also providing a perspective on what I've learned about being innovative. So let me start by telling you a bit more about myself. This is me and my family. I am married. I have 2 teenagers who thankfully still enjoy hanging out with us from time to time. This is a photo that was taken this past summer on a trip to Banff. And being able to explore more of Canada has definitely been a silver lining of the pandemic. That beautiful dog is Quincy. He is our golden doodle on the left. I openly tell my kids that he is my favorite child. And underneath Quincy is my side hustle logo. And if you can't see it, it says Ali's Oven Lovin'. I've always been a baker. I bake for friends, families, birthdays, fundraisers. It's not a financially viable side hustle because I give away my baked goods for free. But a friend designed this logo for me should I ever decide I want to pursue a career change. And speaking of career, let me quickly take you through my education and work experience. So you can see the Junior Achievement logo on the bottom. It would be a disservice for me not to start with JA. Up until grade 12, I thought I wanted to be a pediatrician. I love babies, young kids, I like biology. But in grade 11, my mom suggested I join JA's company program. In the company program, you create a company, you make your product or service, you market it, you manage the finances, you pay your staff, you sell it. And through that, I really learned what business actually was. And by my second year of JA, I realized that business was the right path for me, and in particular, marketing. So I changed all my grade 12 courses. I ended up applying for business programs at university, and I ended up at Western at the Ivy School of Business, where I got my Bachelor's of Honors Business Administration. And it was an amazing experience, meeting so many great people. And a lot of our learning came from working on case studies based on an endless number of fascinating companies. So one of my earliest jobs was at Loblaws. I didn't work in the grocery store. I worked in the head office where I worked on the health and beauty care category as a buyer or a category manager. And I got to meet so many different companies who were selling their things to Loblaws, including Unilever. And Unilever, if you're not familiar, they make brands like Dove, Vaseline, Degree deodorants. And my sales rep from Unilever who called on me one day was telling me about an assistant brand manager role at the company. And given my interest in marketing, I applied for the job. This was actually my second time applying to a job at Unilever. The first time I applied was when I first graduated from school, but I didn't have any relevant work experience, so I didn't get the job. But this time, I had retail experience from Loblaws, and this is really relevant in the consumer packaged goods or CPG industry, so luckily I did get the job. In my early days at Unilever, I also decided to complete my MBA part-time at the Schulich School of Business. So I worked full-time during days, I went to class in the evenings, and thankfully Unilever covered the cost of my MBA. I spent many years at Unilever in so many different roles, mostly on marketing, on personal care brands like Dove and Degree and even Q-tips. I worked in sales. I was a key account manager calling on Walmart. I also worked on the foods business on brands like Hellmann's, Knorr, Basel, and Lipton. And after 17 amazing years working on the most incredible brands with some of the best people, I left Unilever to go to Facebook. And at Facebook, I ran the consumer packaged goods vertical, where I helped CPG companies like Unilever, Pepsi, L'Oreal. I helped them use Facebook and Instagram to help grow their business. And it was a huge change and a steep learning curve moving from CPG to tech. But it was really a defining moment in my career, and it has opened up so many opportunities for me. So it's definitely a career change that I'm really, really glad that I made. After 3 years at Facebook, I then moved to WW, formerly known as Weight Watchers, where I was the VP marketing. And there, myself and my team, our job was to help inspire healthy habits among Canadians. And I always get asked the question, did I meet Oprah, given she is the most famous WW spokesperson? And the answer is no. I was not nearly important enough to meet Oprah, although my boss did meet Oprah. After 3 years at WW, I ended up leaving and I came to Shopify, and I've been here for just over 5 months. For those of you who are not familiar, Shopify is a subscription-based software that allows anyone to set up an online store and sell their products. There are currently over 1.7 million businesses who are powered by Shopify. And it's not just a store builder or a tool to sell your products. Shopify is a commerce platform that offers a way to quickly launch your dream business and start selling to customers wherever they are. The platform also allows really large companies like Staples and Mastermind Toys, to sell online. And while I still have so much to learn at Shopify, I can tell you that it's a dynamic, progressive, and purpose-driven organization. People here are merchant obsessed and focused on making commerce better for everyone. So let me move to my next slide. Taking care of your health. So right before I joined Shopify, I mentioned that I worked at WW, formerly known as Weight Watchers. And when we talk about innovation, making the world healthier, WW is a company whose mission is to help inspire healthy habits. The vast majority of people who use WW are using an app. They're using the WW app. And a lot of people think that WW is about counting points so you can lose weight. And certainly it's proven to help do that. But what made working at WW so meaningful is how much we were ultimately helping people live healthier lives, with a huge focus on how to do that digitally. James Corden reached out to WW when he realized he wasn't taking great care of himself. And he wanted to ensure he was going to be there for his children and for his family. And that's how he became a WW spokesperson. During COVID, in the earliest, darkest days, one day I found myself on the CAMH website. I was looking up tips to manage mental health. And some of the advice that I saw on their site was to sleep well, to stay active, and to eat healthily. Well, those are the exact same principles that WW encourages with its program. And while my intention is not to convert anyone to join here, living a healthy lifestyle is so important for everyone, even if you don't have to lose weight. Your wellness, what you eat, how much you sleep, how active you are, directly affects you, your wellness, your well-being. And given we're talking about innovation, it's important to remember that creativity is born in the mind, specifically the imagination, because every night when we go to sleep, the imagination gets stimulated. And that means your creative potential, your inner genius, is simply sleeping within you, and it just needs to be reawakened and rehabilitated. When it comes to food, there are so many studies, research, experts who continue to find evidence supporting the strong relationship between gut health and cognitive processes. And experts have specifically been examining the relationship between gut health and creativity. A study from UCLA found that food is like a pharmaceutical compound that affects the brain. And this raises very exciting possibilities that changes in diet are not just, a viable strategy for your health and your weight. It can also enhance your cognitive abilities. It might be a way to hack into your creativity. And a report from the British Journal of Health Psychology found eating more fruits and vegetables correlates to better well-being and an increased sense of curiosity and creativity. So eating healthy is not only to make your parents happy, it can actually make your brain work harder. So the next thing I wanted to talk to you about is innovation being a team sport. And when you hear about, coming up with these innovative ideas, trying to be smart and creative, it can make us feel a lot of pressure. Well, I'm going to let you in on a secret. The best work and ideas from my career rarely came from me working all by myself, whether I was at Unilever or Facebook, what have you. The work that has delivered the best results or won the most awards in my career has come through collaboration. When you're working in marketing, which I do, we work closely with cross-functional teams. We have agencies who are chock full of super creative people who are excited to be briefed on your objectives. So my advice is to look for the people who can help make your idea better. That might be your colleague, it might be your classmate, it could be your boss, it could be your friend. But I always find when I collaborate, I end up in a better place with a better idea and better results. And on the topic of collaboration, I do have a watch out. We naturally gravitate towards people who are just like us. They think like us, they act like us, they might look like us. The best work happens when you bring people in who are smarter than you and different than you. And one of the ways you might find out whether someone is different than you is by comparing personality profiles. And there are lots of different tests you can take. Many of them are online and they're free, whether it's Myers-Briggs or an Enneagram. Finding out what your profile is helps you figure out who's not like you. So ask your friends to take this test. So I'm an extrovert and I rely a lot on my gut. Some of my best thinking partners and most fun collaborators have been introverted, data-driven people who are wired very differently than me. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about is being a curious, lifelong learner. So a lot of you are full-time students. All you do is learn. So the last thing you may want to hear is to be, a lifelong learner and to feel the joy of learning in your soul. Well, let's talk about Albert Einstein. Is there anyone smarter than him? Well, he doesn't credit his brains. He credits his curiosity. And an example of being a lifelong learner, if you look at all those books on the right-hand side, and you can maybe see them on my shelf, does anyone get really jazzed seeing all those business books? Well, at WW, my last boss, he started a business book club, which hopefully hasn't put you to sleep. But because I had FOMO, I joined. I actually rarely read business books before that, but doing it with the book club, I had to read it properly so I could participate in the discussion. And there is no question I have learned more about leadership, teams, and business, and I've become better at all of those things because of these books. Now, books aren't the only way to unleash your curiosity. It could be your hobbies, clubs, arts, outdoors, learning from geeks and nerds and business leaders and entrepreneurs and celebrities and world changers. Those are all ways you can keep learning and genuinely be into it. The next thing I wanted to talk to you about is being agile and taking risks. So as mentioned earlier, I work at Shopify, and it's a commerce platform that offers a way to quickly launch your dream business and start selling to customers wherever they are. At the outset of COVID, Toby Lutka, the CEO of Shopify, was very clear in his direction: delete all plans, because the future of retail just arrived 10 years early. And during the early days of the pandemic, Shopify pivoted from their existing strategies and playbook, and that probably felt quite risky to a lot of people. It was before my time. The company ended up creating more features to help merchants move more sales online, as well as to prepare for when stores reopened. They announced that they were releasing a new point of sale system that allowed merchants to fulfill curbside pickup orders, as well as more easily manage in-store appointments when not everyone could be in the store at the same time. It also unveiled Shop, a rebrand of its package tracking app called Arrive, to help customers more easily shop from local businesses, which we know definitely became a thing during the pandemic. All of these changes require the company to be agile and to take on risks when they abandoned those carefully laid out plans that had been working successfully prior to COVID. And the result? Well, the chart in the upper right-hand corner shows GMV, or gross merchandise value. And that is how our merchants measure their sales and success. You can see that by Q2 2020, which was the first April of COVID, there is a huge spike in GMV. And while 70% of retail sales might have disappeared during COVID, the businesses that were ready with an online channel at the same time managed to replace up to 94% of their sales through the online channel. We also saw an exponential increase in the number of new businesses, new merchants who opened up their online businesses with Shopify. So the pivot and risk clearly paid off. I mentioned that employees at Shopify are purpose-driven and merchant-obsessed. Well, this purpose drives so much innovation that is going to help Shopify continue to succeed and grow, making commerce better for everyone. Let's talk a little bit about purpose now. So I mentioned to you, I worked at Unilever, and Dove is Unilever's largest beauty brand. Dove commissioned a study to further the global understanding of women, beauty, and well-being, and the relationship between all of that. There was a growing concern that portrayals of female beauty in pop culture were perpetuating an idea that beauty was neither authentic nor attainable. And Dove was very concerned that this was preventing women and girls from recognizing and enjoying beauty in themselves and in others, while also impacting women's well-being, happiness, and self-esteem. And the results were very enlightening. The study showed that only 2% of women would describe themselves as beautiful. So I rewind to when I had just been appointed to the role of Dove Master Brand Marketing Manager, and my predecessor, Steph Hurst, and my manager at the time, Sharon McLeod, they had just started some work on self-esteem workshops for mothers and daughters, knowing how important self-esteem was to help women and girls feel beautiful. And in order to drive attendance at workshops, getting bums in seats, they had briefed the ad agency, Ogilvy in Toronto, to create a video. And it turned out to be this film called Evolution. Some of you may have seen it, heard about it at school. It basically showed a very normal looking woman being transformed on a computer screen and photoshopped into a billboard model. And this video pulled back the curtain on the beauty industry. This video was put on YouTube, and it ended up being one of the first viral ads. And with about a spend of $50,000, they estimated the coverage was worth more than $150 million. And I can tell you as a marketer, that never happens. So on my first day, I'm the Dove Master Brand Marketing Manager, and I was getting media trained at our PR agency because I was going to be the spokesperson for Dove. Evolution had just started to go viral, and someone comes in and says, Global News wants to do a live TV interview with Ali. Well, that night I did not sleep, and my interview was the most robotic and awkward interview ever. But it didn't matter because Dove was extremely innovative with their message and this Evolution video. And it continued to get so much airplay around the world. And thankfully, my media's interviews, they got better, a little better with time. So finding the purpose behind Dove and beauty is what propelled this team to do the best work of their careers. It put the Dove brand on the map as a trailblazer in defining beauty. I'm sure you've all seen campaigns today that use real women. In fact, it's become kind of the standard, but Dove was the first. I wanted to share another purpose example with you. Working at purpose-driven companies is so important to me, and at Shopify, our president, Harley Finkelstein, has said, we believe more independent voices make commerce better for everyone. That's why we work to break down the barriers to entrepreneurship every day. At Shopify, one of the things that I'm most proud of is the work coming from our underrepresented entrepreneurship team. They are currently supporting Indigenous and Black entrepreneurs, and the team is trying to remove barriers to success for these entrepreneurs. And we believe this can help unlock even more economic opportunity for underrepresented business owners, which leads to greater choices for shoppers everywhere. One of our Indigenous entrepreneurs, Sister Sage, has said that the fastest way to economic reconciliation is to support Indigenous businesses. And knowing that Shopify is enabling more Canadians to participate in this economic reconciliation and buy from Indigenous businesses is very rewarding. And I know many of my really talented colleagues are attracted to this purpose and mission at Shopify, which drives them to be even more innovative. So I know I've been talking a lot about a lot of grown-up stuff, but I wanted to end by telling you a story. And I understand that, having guests from NASA on these videos has definitely been quite commonplace, which is amazing. So I wanted to tell you about this study that happened several years ago, where they studied 1,600 4 and 5-year-olds, so little kids. 98% of those kids scored at the creative genius level. 5 years later, only 30% of the same group of children scored at the same level. And then again, 5 years after that, only 12% of these children were deemed to be creative geniuses. So when the same test was administered to adults, it was found that only 2% scored at this genius level. So for the kids, you go from 98% to 30% to 12%, and then by the adults, you're at 2%. And for those who are wondering about the consistency of these results have been replicated more than 1 million times. So according to George Land, based on all the studies he has conducted and all the brain scans he has looked at, we must learn how to judge less. We must look to understand more. We must criticize less and be more curious. He also cites fear and anxiety as being extremely counterproductive. So I hope that, a lot of you are students. I hope you can always remain young at heart and in body, mind, and spirit. Of course, I wouldn't be a mom if I didn't remind you that eating healthy and sleeping well will also help you stay young. So in summary, I hope that my talk gave you 1 or 2 things to think about. And if you can remember to take care of your health, to collaborate, to be curious, to stay agile and take risks, to find purpose in what you're doing, and to stay young, I expect you'll find great success at being innovative. And I look forward to seeing what this next generation does to help make the world healthier, smarter, and kinder. Thank you. And now I believe we are going to questions.
Ali, that was great. If you want to exit screen share so you can see us again, have a bit of a conversation, that would be lovely. There's so much to unpack with your program. There's a few things that I wanted to highlight while we've got people live and for folks that are tuning in after. One is that in the YouTube chapter, I put the Dove Evolution ad. I remember watching that as a boy in classrooms, and it's fascinating to see the YouTube comments. Most YouTube comments, as people know, are not exactly the most savory things that we can look at in life. And on the Dove Evolution one, it's just all people talking about how much they felt empowered or how much that changed them and what an impact that had. And I think that's such a special testament to that ad and the work that you got a chance to be involved with. It's so cool. 2, you show books. I love when people show books. I love books. Books are a great way of keeping learning going through your life. And I wanted to do a plug for my own favorite business book. So I read widely a lot of things, but Bob Iger of Disney's book, Ride of a Lifetime, is probably my favorite business book I've ever read. So if any of our high school classes are tuning in, I really encourage you to check that out. And what else? Oh, I had so much. Oh, you're the second person to mention this study of 96% less creative. And my favorite way of thinking about this is the divergent thinking test, which I know underpinned a lot of that research. If you're an adult and you see this, and you ask an adult, what do you do with this? They go, you can write with it. You ask a child who's 5, well, it can be a dart, or it can hold up a tent, or it can be, you can break it and have some graphite and have some fun. There's hundreds of ideas that you come up with, and I think one of the easiest ways as students from around Canada and the world that are joining this broadcast can do is think about the things in your everyday life and think if your way of thinking has been sort of boxed in by what's expected of the things that you might use on an everyday basis. It can go a really long way to making you as creative as Ali is with that beautiful presentation. Let's dive in with questions. If folks do want to share on YouTube, great. If you don't, I've got a bevy of questions. I can keep it going all day. So we've got 15 minutes for that. I want to harp on something. You talked about being fit, being healthy, getting good sleep. You're the first person to mention this. It doesn't enter into a lot of our broadcasts. I'm curious in your own life, maybe from your experiences with the businesses you've worked at or with, what steps do you take personally that help you in your career to be fit and healthy?
Well, here's an interesting story. When I left Facebook, Facebook is a very wonderful place to work. When we were in the office, there was all this free food, and I gained 30 pounds with that, eating all that free food. So joining WW was important to me, not just because of the mission, but because WW helped me lose those 30 pounds. And this is not a plug for the program, but when you learn how to eat properly and sleep well and stay active, you realize you just feel better, and knowing your brain is more sharp. It's something that's never left me since I learned that lesson, several years ago on my own journey. And with my own kids, when I can sense that they're feeling pressure and stress, the first thing I think about is, okay, maybe you should go for a walk. Have you been eating healthy? Like, it's the really fundamental stuff that me and my family know is kind of like the starting point.
It's amazing how the environment you have around yourself at home and at work makes such a difference in terms of how you feel. I moved in about 6 months ago with my fiance. She is in part a yoga instructor, and she's a vegetarian, and I've never been healthier in my life.
Good for you.
You feel better in your mind too. Like, you're not just better in body, you feel more creative, you feel more active, you have more energy. And I think no matter where your starting point is, adopting those habits in your life can lead to more innovation and more creativity, as we're talking about in this program.
Yeah. And nobody's perfect. That's the important thing, is a lot of people, they might be on a good cycle on the bandwagon, and then you fall off, and then you're like, oh, forget it. I'm just going to eat the bad food and not go to the gym. Like, the thing is, expect that you will fall off the wagon, but the best thing you can do is just get back on.
I discovered the world's greatest pie place about 10 minutes from my house, and I've been eating gloriously from it over the last few weeks. It remains to be seen how that's going to impact my life. Now, your career journey was really interesting because you've been all over the place, and in a fairly condensed period of time, you've been to a lot of different organizations. Is there some of it's been sort of happenstance, and you've ended up in these cool roles based on the work that you've done. Do you have like an itch to get on to new things and to try new things and to learn more, or has it just been luck that's turning you to these organizations?
I think that, the older I get, I realize more what energizes me. And it was very clear after working at Unilever that purpose is what drives me. I don't want to just sell stuff. Like, I want to do things that matter. So I've been very fortunate that I have been presented with opportunities that aligned with what really gives me energy. And I have no doubt that when you're applying for a job, people can tell if you have that, excitement and that glimmer in your eye and that fire in your belly. And I think it served me well. When you go after the jobs that are aligned with who you are as a person, you're just going to show up, better and be more likely to be successful when you go after it.
We've been talking about educational journeys a lot in these Ingenious Plus programs. And one of the things I remember distinctly as a first-year undergraduate in biology, I wanted to be in biodiversity and conservation. That was my passion from when I was a very little kid. 98% of the people in my classes of 2,000 kids at University of Toronto wanted to be doctors. They were convinced that they were going to be doctors, and that was it. And you ask them, why do you want to be a doctor? And most of them were like, well, it's expected of me. It's like, there's no glimmer in the eye there. There's no fire in the belly. And after 1 year, 98% of those 98% were like, oh God, I can't be a doctor, and this is not for me.
Yeah.
I'm curious, actually, to tie that back into your educational journey. You went to 2 different business schools. I always find it fascinating when people either stay at an educational institution or they go very diverse. Mm-hmm. Was that an important experience for you to go to 2 different places? Did you get different outlooks or experiences there that shaped how you work today?
Okay, so I'll let you in on a secret. Getting an MBA wasn't actually my idea. My mom was like, you're not finished your education until you have a master's degree. And being, an obedient Asian girl, I was like, oh, okay, well, my mom must be right. So when I was looking at what the options were, I was obviously working full-time at Unilever. And because it hadn't been 5 years yet since I had finished my business undergrad, I wanted to go somewhere that would recognize my, my undergrad. And Schulich at York, they did. So I was able to not have to retake a whole bunch of courses. It was within driving distance. So I would say it was a bit of a practical thing. And of course, their school had a good reputation. And that's how I would end up at York. Would I say everyone needs to get their MBA? Absolutely not. I think it really is dependent on what drives you. There's a lot of very successful business people out there who do not have an MBA. So really, there's not a right or wrong answer about you must get, a post-secondary or a postgraduate degree, I should say.
I'm really glad you mentioned that. So I was one of the very few of my cohort with my friends and colleagues in university to not actually go on to like a PhD. A lot of those people just finished up about a year ago. And it was really interesting. About half of them were really passionate. They were so thrilled with their decision to do this. And the other half were absolutely, they felt it didn't do much for them. They felt that they could have gotten the career they wanted without that, but it was expected of them. It was something that they thought they wanted to do from when they were a very little kid. And so I think, you talked about the fact that we've had NASA engineers on, and NASA is really big about highlighting the fact that if you want to end up in a field, whatever that may be, whether it's marketing or engineering or conservation, there are so many avenues now to end up in that field. You do not need to follow a one-track path to get there.
No.
You could have an interest in math or design or any number of things and end up in something that really fulfills you. And I think that's a really important message.
Yeah, and you don't always have to get to the very end game either, right? Like if you know that this is the direction you want to head, you can take small steps in the direction to get there. So I wanted to get into marketing. Unilever said no to me right out of school.
Yeah.
So then I worked, actually, I didn't even mention this, but I worked at an ad agency for a little bit. And then I went to Loblaws, and both of those made me more qualified to get the job at Unilever. So you're not always going to get, a home run immediately. Sometimes you got to take it one base at a time.
We had a guy the other day who I think applied for NASA engineering 150 times before he got it.
Wow.
And he did, which is very impressive. But I mean, that's serious dedication. I think that's a huge message for our students.
Yeah.
I'm really curious, in all our programs over the course of the last month, we get questions about how has COVID impacted it. So in the marketing world, I mean, you highlighted this with a little bit about what happened at Shopify, but marketing in general around the world, both now and in the years to come, do you see a big shift because of how COVID's impacted all of our lives?
Yes, and I remember when I was at WW going through COVID, we were very, very careful about the tone of what we were saying because the world has changed. I think one of the best things that could have happened from COVID is the social reckoning that's happened, whether it's Black Lives Matter, recognizing the importance of truth and reconciliation through Indigenous. So I feel like we can detect BS more now. I feel like people know when you're saying things like we're in this together. So I think it's more real, it's more raw, it's more purpose-driven. It isn't just about selling stuff. Like there is definitely a change now that marketers need to be much more aware of. And of course, diversity is a huge one.
So you highlighted this with the Indigenous and Black-owned businesses, and this has been a theme underpinning all our Ingenious Plus programs. Are there things that you guys are doing at Shopify or in general you're seeing across the business landscape about making innovation feel more inclusive to people? Again, you've highlighted this a little bit. If you have anything more to share, I think our audience, it's the thing our audience cares about most in our programs that we found from kids around not just Canada, but the world. And so any insight would be appreciated.
Yeah, on inclusivity, obviously there's the internal part, which is hiring diversity and belonging at Shopify. But then there's, our external part, which is about our merchants and ensuring that we are helping everyone. So Shopify is about making commerce better for everyone. And we talk about the voices less heard or the underrepresented. And as I mentioned in one of my slides, like we have teams of people who are only focused on doing that. And normally when you're running a business, there's an expectation of, look, we need to drive this much revenue and we need to get, this much of our business growing. And here we want to do it right for the long term. So even though we think there's a huge business opportunity to get more Indigenous merchants online, I've been told you can only move at the speed of trust. And that to us is the most important thing. And when I see how committed our organization is from the top down, it's not just a bunch of bleeding hearts. There's like some really senior people who truly believe we need to do this right. And in the end, it's not we could help people or we could make money. We really believe we can do both. And that's really exciting.
I'm really happy you mentioned that. And the trust element is so huge. I'm actually hosting a webinar next week through a variety of roles highlighting Indigenous programs at places across Canada. So many people want to do these now. And so many of them have no idea where to start. And it begins with a very long relationship built up where it is a mutual understanding and respect that lead into all of that. It's very important not to just be exploitative with it. And I think we've all seen stories in the news over the last year where that has not been done well. And it's bad for everybody, I would say. So.
And it makes a huge difference. The fact that we have Indigenous employees who are driving these missions. If you had people like me who think they're good marketers, it wouldn't matter. Like you need people who genuinely understand. There are so many nuances where, you just have to be so careful, and that makes all the difference in our efforts.
It's been interesting being in the virtual broadcast world. See, we're riffing at this point, Ali. But like people talking about like, oh, we really want to get black speakers in for our programs. It's like, okay, well then invite some black people to come give talks with you and invite a panel where it's entirely black speakers. I mean, that's how you do that. And bring in a black host. I mean, these are and invite audiences that are going to be attuned to that message and excited about it. I mean, these steps can be very, very easy. You just need to take that step, and I think it's very important to do that, whatever field or industry that you're in.
Absolutely.
Ali, time flies when you're having fun. We are near the end of our live broadcast time where folks typically have to go off to lunches and more. And so what I want to just highlight is if there's a last message. We've got students, again, that registered from all over Canada, people tune in from all over the world in these broadcasts. What's a piece of advice that you'd want them to go away from your presentation or in general with the idea of ingenuity and innovation with in this session?
Mm-hmm. It was, in a few of the points that I was making, but the point about purpose has really driven me to do my best work and to be the most innovative and to be the most successful. So I know a lot of you are young and you might not know what that means, but think about what gets you really excited, what you can't stop doing, what you're always thinking about, what you're reading about, what you're talking about. And if you can somehow find a way to incorporate that into your schooling and ultimately into your job, then you are absolutely set. And the ideas will come, the innovation will come, the success will come. So that is my advice. Find your purpose.
It's been so fast. I mean, I hate to say that it's generic, but every one of our Ingenious Plus people have highlighted this. So no matter where people have been approaching this question from across Canada, doing so many different things, building robots and doing social justice activities, highlighting the fact that if you find your passion and go for it, there are opportunities out there, whatever that may be. If you want to ride horses, you can teach in a riding school. If you want to do art, you can be involved in marketing and campaigns. There's no reason nowadays, with the diversity of jobs and roles that are out there, to short shrift yourself and to think that whatever you bring to the table isn't worth, diving in headlong for. You might have stutters along the way. You might face a lot of challenges. You might fail repeatedly. Paul Lee talked about this earlier today. But ultimately, you can end up with something really profound and exciting. And I really thank you for continuing that train of message throughout the Ingenious Plus program today, Ali.
Glad we're all consistent.
This is great. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm going to bring back in Jill to join me in saying a farewell as we wrap up our fantastic Ingenious Plus kickoff series. 9 amazing programs, both official languages, all on our YouTube channel. Jill, this has been a ton of fun. Unmute your mic. Come on back in. We'll talk together for a second. This is great.
It has been an incredible week. My brain is so full of inspiration and really of hope to know that Canada has innovators in almost every sector, coast to coast to coast, that are truly walking the walk in terms of making our country a healthier, smarter, and kinder place. And I just couldn't be more buoyed and encouraged by that this week. So thanks to Ali and thanks to all of our innovators. And Jesse, thanks to you for guiding us through it.
Thank you very much. I'll be here all weekend. Ali, I'm so glad we got to end so much with your work because kinder is the element that really stuck out to me. I've said this at the opening of several of our broadcasts, but I think when a lot of people think innovation, they think healthcare, they think healthier, it's super important. They think smarter. Okay, let's get the geniuses involved. Kinder is an element that's really can feel like it's missing from society sometimes. And I think it's really important to highlight that kindness and empathy underpin a lot of what all of us do and really make the world a better place in the most easy way that everyone, no matter where they're joining from, can start being kinder every single day, and it goes a long way. So thank you for embodying that. And
this was so fun. Thanks, Jesse.
Thanks. We'll end the broadcast there. Have a wonderful day, guys.